Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? No. The agenda will stand approved as presented. Moving on, we do have one board member who would like to make a statement tonight, so Kim, if you would like to please.
Okay, I'm Kim Streeter, I'm a township trustee, and I would like to make a personal statement. A recent update to the noise ordinance was made, and it reduced the restrictions of the previous ordinance. Ordinance language is very specific, and this noise ordinance needs to be clarified to ease public concerns regarding their personal property uses. The ordinance regarding use of ORVs on township roads has not been changed. I work for you, and it's important that we as a board listen to what the voters and residents have to say. Your opinions matter, and I appreciate everyone coming out tonight because you took the time out of your life to be here and to be involved. This is exactly how the system is supposed to work. I look forward to hearing what everyone thinks so we can reach common ground to respect people and their rights on either side of any issue. Thank you.
Can I say something?
No, not yet. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Is there a reason why the PA is not working?
This is the village's microphone. Is not.
Sound system not working?
No, it's not hooked up for us. Moving on to the consent agenda. It has the regular meeting minutes of November the 13th and township payroll monthly bills, the amount of $122,414.86, and our treasurer.
I move to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the regular meeting minutes of November 13th, 2023, and the township payroll and the monthly bills in the amount of $122,414.86, and acknowledge the treasurer's report.
Support. We have a motion support to approve the consent agenda, which consists of regular meeting minutes of November 13th, 2023, township payroll monthly bills in the amount of $122,414.86, and acknowledge our treasurer's report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to the report section, start with the fire chief. John?
You should all have a copy of my report in front of you. I'm not used to throwing it. As you can see, MFR runs continue to rise. Starting to get a little concerned again, the comparison to regular medical runs and trauma runs. Firefighting opportunities were up again with vehicle accidents leading the pack. So that's my report. If you have anything or any questions for me, I'd be happy to make an attempt to answer.
Don, still everything okay with Alpha 80?
Yeah, so far. Yeah, it's been good. I did have a discussion with Bruce Township, but nothing's come of it yet after the holidays maybe.
Okay.
We haven't really seen what I expected to see as far as delays.
Okay. Any other questions, Steve?
Since, if the board will indulge me, since I have such a large captive audience, I'd like to ask a favor of all of you, kind of a Christmas present. All right, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, give that guy a Christmas present. So when you're traveling and when you're out with your family this time of year, keep your head on a swivel. All right, there's the clueless are everywhere around us, and I don't say that any way mean or not. There are folks that are distracted, they're clueless to what's going on around them. If you're coming into an intersection, please beware of the clueless. If there's another car there, don't trust them. Be offensive with your driving, not offensive, but be like a football team, offensive. Think about what's going to happen if that guy decides to blow through that stop sign or red light. Same way when you're coming home from work tonight, you're in stop and go traffic, give yourself an additional 10 feet. Just because, maybe you can relax. Look in your rearview mirror. If you can't see that guy's eyes, he's most likely clueless. So just for me, as a gift for me at Christmas time, pay a little closer attention. Head on the swivel. let's get through it so I don't have to get up in the middle of the night and eat by accident. Thanks.
Don, don't you want to tell us about your grant that you?
Yeah, we did, just recently get notice that we received a $10,000 grant. That grant will allow us to buy some additional firefighting equipment, and also will pay for things we bought up to 1 year from the date of the grant. So that helps us out a lot, and you folks, I'm not spending your taxpayers' money. We also did get confirmation, and I don't know if I brought that, I did, that we'll see our new fire truck, and for those of you who don't know, we just bought a new pumper. All our pumpers are getting close to NFPA, which is National Fire Protection, years of service. At 10 years, we're supposed to replace them. I don't think you have that kind of money every 10 years. So our new truck was a 595-day build time from the time we signed that agreement, 595 days before we get the truck. They're telling us that we will see that truck on the 24th of March, 2025. By that time, the chassis will be 2-3 years old.
Don, what's the cost on that truck?
I think we were right around 720,000 in round numbers. We're looking at the ladder as the next one. I'd like to refurbish our ladder truck. We have a ladder truck. I'd like to refurbish that because the new ladder truck's right at 1.2 million right now. We do well because we're frugal. I'm a cheapskate. I get my money's worth if I can. Your money's worth. But 1.2 million, oh my God. So anyhow, that's the latest.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Let's move on to the police report. And Chief Andy's here tonight in case anybody has questions.
Yeah, my monthly report. Other than that, to add to it, we put the ski trailers away for the winter time. We have got all of our patrol vehicles winterized and ready. And then we just finished our second department shoot last month. And since there are so many township residents here, those address signs, if you don't have one, get one. They save us minutes, and minutes count. They save us seconds too. So if everybody gets one of those, we can certainly find you if we need you.
Which they're available through the fire department, correct?
Amen.
Yeah.
$12. I see them in other communities upwards of $25 and $30.
Any questions for? Move on to the assessor's report. Questions on that?
How many people are on for board review?
I saw that agenda too. Just about 4 or 5 is about it. So most of them are corrections. Any other questions on assessors? None? Let's move on to our first public comment. Just to remind everyone that if you would be recognized by me before you speak, if you come up to the podium, and you're limited to 3 minutes to speak. And with this crowd that we have right now, I would really like to have it limited to let everybody speak once before we have any second comments. So, Paul, I saw your hand go up first, so I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, Paul Almont from Almont Township. Excuse me. I was here many years ago when you guys established the ORV ordinance. There was not quite this many people, but there was a lot of people and a lot of opinions. I think you guys did a really good job investigating what we did for the safety of the community. And until now, hasn't the ORV ordinance been pretty successful? Yes?
As far as we know. As far as we know.
So, I wouldn't change it. I think there's one gentleman, that my understanding is there's one incident, and it sounds like it's a neighbor dispute, and let him go to court and deal with it. Why change something that might really mess up the rest of us? One guy who owns 3 acres in the middle of Almont Township can't change Almont Township. The other thing is, I know there's a lot of times we say, excuse me, that common sense, use common sense, that's what they're gonna do. You give somebody the foothold, if they're this nitpicky, they're gonna use that foothold to cause more issues. So my opinion is leave it like it was. You guys did a lot of work, it's been successful, and hopefully, it'll continue to be successful. Let the neighbors fight it out, okay? Thank you.
My name is Paul Willett, and I'm going to give this to the board. This is our waste disposal, a medical waste disposal unit here in town. And I'm not sure if the board's aware of this, but somebody put restrictions on this. It says no needles, no EpiPens. I'm an extreme diabetic, and I take 5 to 6 shots a day. Where do I take my medical? My doctor's not taking them anymore. They always say, take them to the police department, you know, because you can't just throw them in the trash. I mean, that's just not right. Now, it's only been about the last 2 months, somebody printed this sign and put it on our waste disposal.
I'm gonna let our chief take care of that because, that's over in front of his building.
Yeah, it's always been on there that, no sharps allowed. And
Excuse me, no it hasn't, because I've been dropping them off and I've lived in town for a lot of years. This is a handwritten sign on
Right.
a waste disposal thing.
Could you, let the chief answer, you asked the questions.
And yes, we've been getting a lot of the needles and stuff, and we don't have anywhere to take them either.
Excuse me, the town should, you dispose of medicine, that's the same thing as medicine, it goes into a furnace and such. Hospitals take care of it, taxes paid.
That box
the
was
township-
free.
Please?
That box was free, and we, as the police department, disposed of it for free.
Okay, I'm bringing up, this is not right. I would like the board to change this, and I've been dropping them off here for years, so, and your first statement was, it's been on there for years. You know, I mean, come on, you know, if you take insulin, you know, you have no place to get rid of the needles and the insulin bottles. I have dropped off medicine there before because, you know, being diabetic, you're on more than one kind of medicine. So
You might
would
want
you consider it?
to visit the village because the village police department, the township, we contract with the village for our police services. So the police don't physically work for us, they work for the village. So you might want to take this to talk to them as well.
Do you have a sharps container at home to put them in?
No, I put them in plastic bags and save them and then drop them off.
And that's, you can't do that.
Well,
If you had a
can't-
sharps
I guess I
container
can.
in that box, you can't do that. Because we don't know where these needles are coming from, and if we get stuck with them, that's not good. But if you have a sharps container to put them in, then you can put them in the box.
I
You should
tried
be able
to
to
put
get
the
one from the
bag
doctor.
in there and it doesn't open far enough for a bag even to fall in there. So how's the sharp thing that, all I hear is excuses. Can we have an answer and who made the sign?
Sir, 3 minutes, sir. Oh, thank you.
We consider it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, or evening. My name is Chuck Farino. I'm one of those dirty things. I'm a transplant. I came from St. Clair Shores about 1.5 years ago. The reason I did was for country living. This noise ordinance violates everything we're having to do with that. The first question I have is, how do you propose the officers enforce the stock exhaust or the OEM exhaust? Is there going to be a checkpoint set up on Van Dyke to stop all the cars, all the traffic passing through there? Or you're expecting a selective enforcement of just the residents, not people passing through? The ordinance doesn't make provisions for that. It's completely unenforceable. The next thing I have, I did 20 years in the Army. I deployed 3 times. And by God, you're graciously giving me 2 hours a day to fire my weapons, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon, is unacceptable.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. The next point of concern is the ATV violations, or the potential thereof. So there's a 50-meter or a 50-foot radius from other people's property. So on my property, if I'm letting my spouse or my friends drive, they can't operate on that 50-meter area. You're dictating to me what I can and can't do on my property. That is unacceptable. I am very curious to know what kind of source data is provoking this ordinance change. How many complaints have the officers had to respond to? That's something I don't expect to see here, but if this ordinance is not repealed, that's something I would absolutely expect to see. Because from everything that I can see, there is no reason to go to this extreme. Additionally, there are an enormous amount of unenforceable, subjective points in this ordinance. There's nothing ever having to do with decibels, distance from property. There's nothing pertaining to commercial vehicles up and down the road that are considerably more loud than many of our cars that have aftermarket exhaust. Just the fact that this is being sprung on us, and you see the turnout, because I'm pretty sure, again, this is the first time I've come here, first time to this township meeting. The turnout alone should tell you that the wrong thing has been done. And you need to at least go back to the ordinance as it was, and then start drafting from there if changes actually need to be done. In my opinion, those changes don't need to be done. In conclusion, I respectfully request you rescind this ordinance, and let's go back to the drawing board with it. That's all.
Anyone else? Who's the second one? Yes, sir.
My name's Ken Brzezinski. I'm the one that the complaint's all about.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So to answer no. I'm the guy that lives here. It's my neighbors making the complaint. To answer the questions. So to answer the questions, I don't have the information from the township. What I have
address the board, not the public. Please.
I do have some of the questions or answers to the questions the gentleman before me asked. I don't have the information from the township, but I FOIA the information from the police department. Since January 2023, there were 16 calls to the police regarding ATVs. 16. Of that, 2 in the last 23 months had to do with private property. That is from Maggie and Walt Clement, who live on Green Street. That is my neighbor. 2 on private property with me. So that's the answer to your question. That's what this is all getting changed over, is them. 3 minutes is not enough time for me to talk, but my suggestion to somebody up here.
You can have mine.
My suggestion though is that there's a motion made to remove out of ordinance, I think it's 63.2. If anybody wants to, I have the original ordinance, the one that was put in February, and the one after that was just sworn in last month. That to be said, I know people look at me as a monster. I have the FOIA information for if you want to take a peek at it. I have every police run that was established from noise on ORVs. That being said, I think a motion should be made to remove number 18, the 50-foot rule altogether.
Yes.
And there's another, hold on 1 second, I'll find it here. Someone's going to give me the 30 seconds. It's 18 and I think 20 or 18 and should be removed. I also, since I'm up here, I might as well make something since there's a mention of gunfire. I believe that needs to be revised as well because you're allowed to hunt 30 minutes after and 30 minutes prior to for dusk and dawn. And right now you guys limit it to dusk and dawn, where the state of Michigan says something. If you guys want to revise your ordinance or just remove it, everybody's concerned about everything being a scramble area and there being a problem. The state of Michigan has rules and regulations under their noise ordinance and under the DNR. If you look under the handbook for Michigan rules and regulations, the DNR, it's clearly spelled out what you can and cannot do there. Now I understand the police department is not able to necessarily run around with decibels, and I understand it's a difficult task. But there is, all these ordinances already exist. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, we don't need to write anything. We just need to apply what already exists in the state. So for you guys to change something, I'm hoping you guys do the right thing and change it back, and or make it even less. The 500-foot rule we knew was ridiculous, but at least under the 500-foot rule, there was an exception for maintenance of property. Right now, you took that out. And what you put under the 50-foot rule is anything without basically a license plate. Okay, so under a noise ordinance, you cannot take a golf cart and drive by someone's property, which we know makes no noise. The only thing you can do is something that is by muscle or by wind. Sorry.
What's your address? I say I think bye.
5139 Jackie Court. My neighbors are over here. They live on Green Street. They're the only house that's occupied at the time. And I have several other of my neighbors here that, unless they want to speak against something I do, I'm probably pretty helpful and I do decent things.
Hey there, Andrew Jose. I sent in a letter to you guys, or an email. Kim, I appreciate you reaching out after. Rick, I appreciate you reaching out before I sent it, okay? For one, just to clarify everybody, this isn't the ORV ordinance. This is separate, this is a noise ordinance. So we're not here to argue the ORV ordinance at that time, that might be a later date, but this is solely on the noise ordinance, right? You know, Ken already hit it on there. It's 15, 18, 19, and 20. 15 is the one you can't fire a gun a half hour before and after. 18, 19, and 20 are on 63.2, 63.1 for the noise ordinance, right? I'm not gonna repeat everything he did. He hit the nail on the head with everything. One thing I wanna bring notice to is transparency. I think a lot of the people are here is because it flew all over social media, it grew. A lot of misconceptions. Again, somebody here is talking about the ORV ordinance. That's not why nobody's here. It's about the noise ordinance, right? Any other township, or I'm sorry, any other township, any other DDA, village council, county, state, they record their meetings, right? OMA, that allows that. I could record it right now if you want me to, right? Members on your own, you can set up a camera and record it yourself. I would implore you to put it up on camera. I know the village will let you use theirs. We use these mics that do work. We use it for our meetings as well. But I think these people here would like to hear what you worked through to get to this point. Maybe where there were some issues or logic to it or not logic to it. And the people could listen to it and go, hey, that makes sense or doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna come down here in droves or not at all. But I would encourage you adding that possibly as a motion to make that happen. I can tell you it'll take me 5 minutes to get it running. It does not take that much. But that's just my comments. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Joan Kavanaugh, Almont Township. I am a transplanter as well, but I grew up in the country, so I love country life. So one of my biggest concern about this noise ordinance is we have just a little measly 2 acres. We don't have big farms, big ranches. We don't have 15 acres for our grandkids to run around on and play on and take their dirt bikes on and whatnot. I have a 1 acre backyard with a 50-foot ordinance. I had to check the math with my husband. My backyard is 200 feet wide. So that means the Honda side-by-side that we bought to maintain our land, drop mulch, move plants, move boulders, and that we let our children, grandchildren play on, and we tool them around in the backyard. That means I have 100 feet that I can drive my Honda side-by-side on. That's not why I moved out into the country. I moved out here so I could sit on the deck and listen to the, you know, the chickens squawk and listen to the cows move up the road and things of that nature. And along with that comes the sound of a dirt bike going down a dirt road. You know what? Music to my ears. Yep. Because that means that is one kid, grandchild, somebody's child, who's out doing something wholesome, doing something fun, enjoying their nature, enjoying the outside. They're not sitting in the basement playing video games and figuring out how they're gonna, you know, torture somebody and become a derelict of society and all that. So let them ride their dirt bikes, let them ride their SUVs in the backyards, leave them alone, let them do what kids should be able to do, and keep them out of trouble.
I spoke with you a couple weeks ago on the phone here for a whole separate issue. I'm a resident of Almont, new, or transplanters, everybody's calling it. I recently bought a home off Shoemaker, specifically right before the Dryden intersection. I got a lot of standing water on my property. My neighbor does as well, due to a black culvert. They recently built a house as well across the street adjacent, which was supposedly swampland, and that has been built up. And with the culvert being blocked, I'm now receiving everybody's water because I am on the low side. The road sits higher than all the surrounding properties. Any road floodage, if there's no ditch, is gonna go right into their front yards. I'm getting farmers and builders and people coming up to my property, threatening me with lawsuits. I simply bought a home. I have a culvert that goes across, going in the east direction where the water flows towards Van Dyke, and we need to either find a long-term solution, add some deeper ditches. I'm currently the only one between the farmlands and the new build to Dryden Road that has an actual ditch, and due to that, I'm now holding everybody's water as it floods. Their property floods into mine. I'm here to find a long-term solution to this issue. From my understanding, I bought the home in 2021. This has been a far longer issue than that, and now that people are, again, feel the need to come onto my property, we need to find a long-term solution to this.
Just a question, did the road commission not open that culvert up?
They did not, so I'm glad you brought that up. They did come by, they dug
They told me they were going to.
Yeah, they dug a channel off the road that goes into the ditch in front of my property, which I'm fine, that's what the ditch is for, right? However, the culvert is still very much blocked. So with that new channel, just more water sitting in front of my front yard, and this past summer, obviously with all the rain that we've had, it just becomes a mosquito infestation and just, one issue after another.
It should be blocked, that's not something that.
Yeah, so, and then I understand, they had crops across the field, and with the new home being built, it was supposedly some swampy area, all that additional water, because it's now up higher, it's gonna go into their property, and I understand they have an issue. So, as neighbors, I feel, the township needs to get involved, and we need to come up with a better solution than just blocking a culvert and threatening people with lawsuits and, essentially trespassing, sitting in my driveway for hours on end.
You live on the west side?
Yes, I do.
I think Gary and I were out there this summer. I think I met you.
You did, yes, absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, we had a brief conversation.
Yes, we did. I think there's an issue out there with water.
There's a major issue.
Yes,
They decided they were gonna put an industrial pump all that water in that culvert and send it right in my front yard, and I had thousands of gallons of water sitting in my front
and it's
yard.
across the road and it's all over there. Apparently, the ditch goes all the way out to Van Dyke. We just have to get it opened back up again and get it flowing.
Okay.
So,
I don't know how.
we'll get a hold
quickly
of
or
Jason
easily
and
we can
ask him
address
about
this,
that.
We have no control, nor Jason does, about
The cross culvert, the cross culvert.
Yeah, we can take care of the one.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Which I thought was taken care of.
It was not, because all the
We'll
water.
get that taken care of.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Come on up. Well, wait, go ahead, well,
Okay,
you work your way up, go ahead and speak, ma'am.
okay.
He's gonna work his way up here, he'll be the next one.
I'm Hanka Bauer. I live on Dryden Road, very close between Shoemaker and M53. I also have a water problem. The ditch on my side of Dryden Road, which is the south side, does not drain. I spoke with Nate at Lapeer County Road Commission. He had called me back. He said the ditch is supposed to drain towards M53, Van Dyke. you drive down Dryden Road, you can see the water pooling from the ditch in my, front yard area to the side. And then there's 3 new houses, and the ground rises, crests, so the ditch, the water doesn't go up. So I also have a similar problem that Shoemaker does. But they told me that they would come out and see, and they would get back with me, but they have not.
What was the address again?
7060 Dryden Road. And the water pools between.
How long ago was it when you talked to Nate?
I talked to Nate last week.
Okay, thanks.
And I already emailed him again today through the Lapeer County, I don't know.
I'll follow up on it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Rick Zane, the south end of the township. Everybody who's spoken tonight makes it a very tough act to follow, starting with you, Ms. Streeter, and your opening comments. Thought maybe the board had forgot who they worked for. Congratulations on recognizing that. I'm not really impressed with this noise ordinance at all. I came in, had a very pleasant conversation with your clerk. I don't even know where to start. It's like I say, it's a hard act to follow from all the other speakers before. But as you can see, you've got a packed room of people who are not for this. I didn't know it existed. I'm not a regular at your township board meetings. I have a little faith that you're doing what's in our best interest. Thank you for reminding us who you work for, because I thought maybe you had all forgotten that. We're in a patriotic, conservative rural community. We shoot guns recreationally. We kill deer. We ride our 4-wheelers and our dirt bikes.
Amen.
We set off fireworks on the 4th of July and Christmas. Farmers, I'm one of them. I might be out before dark and well after dark, which is covered under one of your points of exemptions under GAMS and the right to farm. We make noise. Many people have introduced themselves as transplants. I've been hearing a lot about this for years now, not only on a local level, but on a national level. Our job, or your job, is not to appease every transplant when you've got an entire room or an entire country or state full of people who are against it. You need to represent the people that are in this room, the majority. If there's a couple transplants that aren't happy, I would suggest that they pick up the phone, walk across the property line and have a conversation. But I'm overly not impressed with this ordinance. I think it needs to be picked apart and recognize our country conservative values that we live by. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Alberto Tadero. I'm in the township as well. Paul's neighbor, Roberta's neighbor. Everything I own is in violation of this current ordinance. Every single thing I own. I'm a big advocate for the Second Amendment. Every toy I have, all of my equipment, four-wheelers. Four-wheelers have been used many times, chainsaws, to help many of our retiree neighbors who don't have the physical strength to do these things, don't have some of the financial resources to do these things. Oftentimes I've got to do them after hours. They're noisy. The flip side to that is these neighbors have to spend the money to have other people come and do it, or I can do it for them. I can't do that with the restrictions that you guys are putting on, both the restrictions that are being put on us. I'm not going to change what I'm doing. I don't think anyone here is going to take real kindly to any of the infractions that are going to be brought on us for helping others. This ordinance has to be relooked at, really needs to be nitpicked, or just left alone completely after it's been repealed. You guys can't keep reaching and reaching and reaching. People are getting tired of getting their pockets reached into with ordinance tickets. It just doesn't make any sense. Transplant or not, I've only been here 10 years. In my 10 years, I've never come to a township meeting, till today. What's happening right now is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. Spent a lot of time and a lot of money in this community, not leaving for some silly ordinances, but you guys they can't be getting put on us continually. It's gotta change, please.
just holler from back here.
Please come on up.
I think we're kind of against fire code here. Good evening. Name's John Glendivo Sr., live at 319 Kidder. Kind of off subject to the entertaining subject we've had, but have they revisited the speed limit on Kidder Road?
Yes, please.
I will tell you this, I have met with the state police who have control over that, and they've done their speed study, and the 85th percentile is how they determined the speed on that, and the 85th percentile was 60 miles an hour.
What?
And we actually had one that they clocked during at 2 o'clock in the 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, going 82 miles an hour. And it's just unreal, and I've not given up on this yet.
Thank you.
But we're looking at another avenue with a number of entrance points along Kidder Road. If we can get so many in a half a mile, we may be able to do something that way. Where I'm concerned is really in front of Orchard Primary, because
Right.
technically speaking, the speed limit in front of the school is supposed to be no more than 15 miles an hour under this posted speed limit. So it'd be like it'd be 40 miles an hour there,
Right.
and that's not acceptable in my opinion. So I'm still working on it,
Thank you.
and I haven't given up yet.
And real quickly, since we're on the subject, I used to live on a private road in the K-Pac area, and it became the Jerry Springer Show. They didn't redo ordinances. They called in the law, the courts. It was ugly, but it was only left to the people that had a problem, and nobody else suffered. I know it can be a tough job to deal with, but to punish everybody else for what's going on, I don't think that's quite right either. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Frank Lambs, live off Buer Road. I'm a youngin'. I'm not a transplant kid. I grew up in Bruce Township, went to Almont schools. I'm just gonna be frankly honest for 3 seconds. I really don't care how y'all vote. 2 things I know, I'm gonna continue doing what I wanna do when I wanna do it. This is America, and I know elections are in August to re-elect, and we can overturn it then. That's about all I know. Thank you.
I see a hand there. Young hands, lady, yes.
I address the board for one thing, not about this ordinance, because I'm against what you guys are doing. But one thing, how do you sleep at night after what you defasted to that cemetery on Scott Settlement? Mr. Wagner, I hope you're happy. I'm really happy, because you know what? All of us gone down that street and never had a problem. But all of a sudden now, all the trees are gone. I can see one ditch cleaned up. What are we doing? We're taking the good stuff that God gave us 43 years ago and grew it. And you guys just took and made shit out of it. Excuse my French. I hope you guys sleep at night good.
Got one back here.
Come on, Chris.
Evening. Rick Tang, out on Huff Road. First of all, as far as the ordinance, it's idiotic. I really feel sorry for this board, I really do. I know what it's like to work with someone that brings the team down, and I apologize to you for that. This ordinance is clearly written by someone that's just trying to help their friend with a neighbor dispute.
Yeah.
That's an issue. That's an issue. But I'm here to talk about something different, some different corruption within the township. The use of this township's assessor's office to go after people the supervisor doesn't like. That's a big issue. My family and I have now been, for 4 years, harassed on our 1,980 square foot house that the township has is 3,600 square feet because of an attic with no insulation, no walls, no flooring, no heat for the last 3.5 years that's been counted as living space. And the township's actually paying for an attorney to fight me on that. That's all of our tax dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So recently, got some additional information, a letter from the assessor that there's an anonymous tip needed to inspect my property some more. Well, I FOIA'd regarding this anonymous tip. Interestingly enough, record doesn't exist. There's no anonymous tip. So I decided, well, wait a minute, I'm gonna FOIA for any anonymous tips that have happened in the last 36 months and see how the assessor followed up on those. No record exists. I found that very interesting. There's no anonymous tips in the last 36 months within this township. So I then decided, I'm gonna FOIA any communications within this township for any employee that has my name or my address attached. Interestingly enough, I just built a house, so there should be a lot of communications with my name and address. There's a big fight within assessment, so there should be a lot of that communication as well. What do you guys think it was?
Nothing.
No record exists. So I don't exist in this township, but they sure seem to find me for the tax bills every year. So I find this very interesting. Everyone knows where the corruption starts and ends within this board. Hopefully you can address how it's taken 4 years now for me to bring this to a head. However, this harassment continues. The sad part is now all of you know about it. So if it needs to be escalated, I guess you're all party to it. So hopefully you can address this. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? I see a hand over here. Don?
My name is Donald Bell, and I live on 7961 Almont Road. I'm gonna tell you a little story to get to my point. I used to have a neighbor there, he run with a motorcycle gang. He used to have a party at his house about 3 times a year, Saturday and Sunday. They'd have 8, 10, 12 people running around on his property, on RVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes. They'd run for an hour and a half or so. They do that maybe 2 or 3 times during the day. They didn't do it early in the morning or late at night. My whole point here is this 50-foot difference. If you'd have had it in place then, it would have made absolutely no difference on the sound level. And you're putting something into place that's gonna affect everybody's rights. So I'm against having this ordinance for that reason. You know, that 50-foot difference is like having tits on a board. Somebody needs to get some brains in their head and see this. I listened to this, it wasn't a problem with me for 15 years. So it wasn't just a one-time deal. 2, 3 times every year we did this. He used to get in trouble because he had the most awesome sound system in his pole barn. He was playing it too loud. If he cranked it up, you could hear it for 2 miles. So he was always in trouble for that. But I mean, as far as running his RVs and his motorcycles, it wasn't a problem. And this ordinance that you put into place for 50 foot is a joke. It's absolutely worthless. So I'm hoping you're gonna rescind it and figure out a different way. The one person that I talked with Paul Bowman about, if he's a problem, we need to deal with that person individual, whatever it takes. Because if you or I were doing it, you'd be dealing with in a way to deal with the problem. It seems like that doesn't seem to want to happen, but we need to make that happen so we don't infringe on everybody's rights.
Anyone else?
Right here, I got one question. You guys are talking about the noise ordinance that you're putting on everybody to do. But what are you guys gonna do when it comes time for the car show and you have all the cars show up making noise at 6 in the morning?
gonna be enforcing it then and not let them come into the car show?
That's the village,
Well, it's still noise ordinance, isn't it?
only in the village.
Only in the village.
They
pass through. How do you get there? We gotta drive there, we can't fly. I live off in the outskirts in the rural area, and I got a car that makes noise. I'm gonna come down through the side streets to get here, they're all gonna hear me. How you know? How you gonna let other people get here? Or are you just gonna cancel the car show and only have it for the village people who live close?
All leave at the same time, let them chase you.
The first time I get chased, it won't be the last, I'm sure, but you know, you gotta think what you're gonna do here.
I see a hand, I don't see a face though. Come on up.
Good evening. My name's Jennifer Stewart. I am one of those new transplants. I am a mother of 3 young children, and my husband and I moved out here for a certain way of living, to have freedoms to do certain things on our property. It was something that we have dreamed about and look forward to. And so to have this ordinance take some of that freedom and those rights away is very disappointing and very concerning. And I feel it's a slippery slope. If you start bending to the will of 2 versus the masses, you're setting up what is a phenomenal community township for disaster, because it will turn into something else and something else and something else. And now we're going to be an HOA type of township. And that's not what I want, that's not why I moved here, and obviously that's not what the folks behind me who have been here majority for a lifetime want. My understanding is that this needed to be opposed, had to have opposition within a certain amount of time. You've got that opposition. What are the next steps to make this change happen?
It's on our agenda tonight.
Okay, to vote for it this evening or vote it backwards, whatever it
Whatever
is.
the board chooses at that point in time.
Okay.
Once we get done.
Why can't we-
Once we get done with public
Okay.
comment,
That's-
that's the first item on our
That
agenda.
was, and this was enough of a concern that I left my kids at home, my husband's unwell, I'm unwell, but I'm here, and so I look forward to seeing how things turn out. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is John Hatfield. I'm Justin Drive over on the west side of the township. I am also a transplant here, but I came from Addison Township, which is just kitty corner from us now. I served with the township as zoning board of appeals chairman for many years before I came here. We had some problems when I was first doing that back in the 90s, that our township planner that we hired to do most of our ordinances and revisions on ordinances happened to be a township planner that also did Bloomfield Hills, Berkeley. Pretty much all the city areas. We soon decided that that was not gonna be appropriate. So we went with another township planner. I don't have to mention his name, but he was good. He understood rural areas. I saw some ordinances that we finally got rid of, that very similar, not the same subject, but similar in writing and similar in scope to this township ordinance that you have now approved for noise and nuisance. I don't recall how it came about, but I've not seen very many ordinances that have so many specifics on types of vehicles or types of activities, but very vague on how to measure what unusual and excessive noise is. There's nothing in the ordinance for a subjective decision by our police or whoever else is going to enforce our ordinances. It's it's overly restrictive in activity and unspecified in how to measure and how to determine what is in violation of the ordinance. I'm very much opposed to the entirety of this ordinance. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't wanna come up, I just have a quick question. These marijuana growers, I'm not against it, okay? It's in your backyard, you wanna grow the marijuana, fine. But what about the people that are living in the city, aren't living in the home here, they got a big barn back there and they're growing marijuana. You drive down the street and that's all you smell. They don't live there, but they're paying the taxes. And there's a few.
When we first started the caregiver situation here in town, in the township, they had to change their address, and I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but everyone that's a caregiver right now has a driver's license that they've changed their address to here, because they have to register with us on an annual basis.
Not on Matthew Road, they're
Well,
from Dearborn.
all I'm gonna say is his driver's license says he lives there, and there's nothing that we can do to check every night to see if he puts his head down, so.
No, but can you
it's-
track his record, I mean, you live in Florida, you
We've
got
been out there
people who live
numerous
there.
times, with him, and, it's, you know, our OEO's been out there, and, it's, everything is in compliance out there. If he's not in compliance, he turns it into compliance real quick, so.
They have a way of doing it, I
Yeah,
guess, I guess
it's,
they know what to do.
He's in compliance as far as, you know, the township is concerned.
Well, he's paying good taxes too, I'm sure.
Anyone else? If not, we're gonna go ahead and continue on with our agenda tonight. And the first thing on our agenda tonight is our noise ordinance enforcement. And we've worked on this ordinance for a long time, and it appears that we've still got a lot of work to do. Andy, you want to speak?
Please. I was gonna speak tonight prior to the public speaking like Kim did, but I elected not to because I wanted to hear everybody's comments without me interjecting anything into it. So I held off. Did this board make a mistake? I don't know.
Yes.
Wait. Did the board make a mistake? I don't know.
Yes.
Did I? Yes, I did. I can only speak for myself, okay? I made a mistake. Let me give you a little something here too. One of our meetings that we were talking about this ordinance to be changed, I asked this board, and I believe there's some members that'll agree with me, that I asked for the planning commission, our planner, and our lawyer to help us with this ordinance. And I was told it was a regulatory ordinance, so we could make the change. I asked for that, and it didn't go anywhere. So at this time, I want to make a motion. It took me a while to go through this, so bear with me. I would like to make a motion to not enforce ordinance 63.2 for 90 days or until we rewrite in the ordinance to represent the public's concerns.
Rescind it.
Rescind it.
Let me finish it. Also, I'd like for the public to have 30 days from tonight. You know how we all have afterthoughts about this thing, something that you wanted to say or you should have said. You have 30 days to put something in writing to the township board, hand it into the office. After the meeting, so we can rewrite it. I want this board to I wrote down everybody's concerns, I think, here, so we can go through it and get it the correct way. Give it to the office, and I want every board member to get a copy of anybody that writes anything in. But I would like, our lawyer is here tonight, present, and they can, I think, help us put this together to address the concerns that everybody's.
We're here now.
Show of hands, who wants to rescind it right now?
Here's your answer.
There's your answer.
If it was put in place without our okay, why can't it be rescinded?
Please.
It's frozen, so it's not, nothing's gonna happen, but I think there's gonna be a lot of stuff. What do I wanna see? Things taken out.
Can we go back to the ordinance prior to the revision? And then start the team?
You don't want
with
that.
the citizens?
Do you understand what that means?
Please. You've had your comment period. You need to listen to the board now for a time period. Randy, you've got a motion on the floor. Do we have support?
I'll pull it back.
You're gonna withdraw your.
Yeah, I'll pull it back. Then I'll make a motion that we rescind this ordinance until it is corrected. Or just rescind it.
What's he saying over here? Quiet, please. Randy, we've got actually two right now out there. 63-1 is actually the one enforced as of today. And then 63-2 takes effect on 15th, which is a week to this Friday. So if you rescind it, you should rescind both of them, but we won't have a noise ordinance.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to rescind both of the ordinances, noise ordinances.
Support.
Yes.
I will support that.
Okay, we have a motion support to rescind noise ordinance 63.1 and 63.2 effective immediately.
That takes us back to the original
I
ordinance.
just want to ask our attorney, is there any difficulty with rescinding this?
No, if the motion passes, I'll draft it tomorrow.
Okay. Now, I've got someone else here that wants to speak. Our clerk, Andy.
I had put together just what I thought. I received a bunch of emails. I talked to people. I went out and walked the property that the complaint was against. We had some suggestions from the attorney of a couple that have that we should maybe remove. My proposal was to remove the following from section 2, paragraph B, numbers 14 on the recommendation of the attorney. Number 15, since this is already covered under section 2, paragraph C in the accordance with Michigan law, I think 18, 19, and 20 taking ORV out of the noise ordinance and only leaving the ORV in the ORV ordinance. And then number 21 on the recommendation of the attorney to remove number 21 out of there. So I would like to make a motion too.
You've got one motion.
Oh, you can't do both, sorry. So that's, I mean, we've already got a ton of emails in from most of it has to do with ORV. This is not me just saying I think ORV needs to be removed because it's ORV. I asked for what the requirements as far as a setback for a driveway is. It's 0. So if I can drive my car, I feel like I should be able to drive anywhere on my property without that 50 feet. And again, we still have an ORV ordinance, and there are state laws on the ORV ordinance.
Now, if this audience agrees with yours.
Well, I'm not trying to make it
Well,
one go
and does everybody understand what she wants to remove?
We don't have the documents in front of us, sir.
Yeah, that's what that's why I was gonna read it, but rescind it. And support?
We've got a motion support to rescind the The
How
ordinance.
can one person change everything around?
Please. Let the board discuss this on their own. So, we've got motion support for Randy's rescission right now. And is there any other comment as far as the board's concerned?
So are we talking rescinding .1 and .2?
Yes.
And then we're going under what ordinance?
We have no noise ordinance
Then
at
there's
that point
no
in time.
noise ordinance at
Until
all.
we get rescission.
Right.
No, they're. Is this forever?
No. Until we get a new noise
Are we
ordinance.
doing 90 days, 60 days?
Please. It's until we adopt something new and it takes its place.
What would
So
be,
you're gonna
Rick,
take
you
out,
got-
yeah, you're gonna take out 63 entirely?
Yes.
Hang on, you guys had your turn, I get
63-1
mine.
and 63-2. 63-1 is gonna be replaced on Friday
Because you guys need to listen to what's being
with
said.
63.2.
Okay.
And that's, 63.2 is the one that, created all the public stir.
But there's a lot of misinformation out there.
I know.
Hang on.
Please,
Hang on.
please.
There's a lot of
people here in the
misinformation
room,
out
and
there.
We've got some business we've got to
In-
conduct tonight, so
In
please.
the original ordinance that was passed in May 20th of 2015, it was a 500 foot from the next residence. Okay? That, fast forward, we had no issue with that up until this point, about a year and a half ago. This is where the complaints came in on Ken and his side-by-side from his new neighbor, transplant. I'm a transplant too, of 19 years. That was brought to the board. We all thought that 500 feet was way too of an overreach. We started discussing 100 feet, 200 feet. What is the setback from the road? You're allowed to drive down the road. Do you drive down the road and when you get to a house that's 75 feet off the road, do you stop? Because it's 150 feet from a residence? So that's where it got dumbed down and things were removed. There were dB levels in there. There was all kinds of stuff. About a whole page was removed back in February. And it reduced it to 50 feet from your property line or your neighbor's property line, however you want to look at it. There was a caveat put in there because Ken owns 3 pieces of property. How would you traverse from one piece of property to the other piece of property to the other to exit onto the private road? So we had a provision in there that you could be 50 feet off of the property line. The intent, and I will agree, it was very poorly written and poorly executed. The intent was if you owned all those pieces of property, you could go closer than 50 feet. So you could drive from one of your pieces of property to the next piece of property, to the next piece of property, to get to the private road so he could get out and ride his side-by-side. So that's where we are. If we go back, we're at 500 feet.
No, we don't. 63 is gone, that's already been replaced.
63 is right here.
No,
I was handed it today.
it was rescinded, that was when we did 63-1, 63 went away.
there is no noise.
There is no 63.
Okay, all right. Well, that's
63 does not exist.
So 61 doesn't exist either. 63.1 doesn't.
63.1 exists until Friday. And then 63.2 takes over. So Randy's motion to rescind 63.1 and 63.2 is the correct one if you want to not have a noise ordinance.
Yes.
That's the motion we have on the floor right now.
Here.
So,
Here.
any other discussion from the board?
So can I address what Jenny was talking?
Sure, this is a discussion on the motion.
Okay. So her idea, which she does a lot of homework, and I gave her credit because she gives her ideas and she gives it to all of us in paperwork that we take home in our packets 4 or 5 days before our meeting. So we can go over everything, see what we think of our own on how to handle things and what was wrong. The intent when we changed that was not the intent to not allow anybody to use an ORV on their property, not cut their lawn, not do their driveways with the snow. That was not the intent. But it all got blown out of proportion, as someone here had already said that. So going back to Jenny's, she wants to remove in our ordinance .2, which is gonna be, okay, the new one, she wants to remove number 14 and 15, what have to do with the firearms. I know you don't have the paperwork there, but that's what we're explaining. The firearms, one is like something that we shouldn't do, the attorney explained to us it's always not right to do. And the other one is already covered in another number. So those are the two for the firearms. And then the other ones, the 18, 19, and 20, are the ones with the ORV. So that ORV should have never been put in this ordinance number 1. So if we take those out, and then you just look at your ORV ordinance to get whatever rules or whatever is in there, we're not addressing that tonight. But if we take those 3 out, and then the 4th one she wants to take out is number 21, which our attorney also explained to us of the time limit. We can't do that. So we put those 4 things in there, let's say, by mistake. We all voted on that. It was our mistake to do it that way. We should have never put that in the ordinance. So I feel that if we went with Jenny's information and her idea, we could still have the ordinance in, just tweak it to take those 5, 4, 5.
Rescind it.
Please. Go ahead.
Well, that's my idea to take that out. Then it cleans it all up. The rest of the ordinance goes by what the state law allows us to do. Correct? For the noises, the ORVs, the discharge of the firearms. So, it's already in there.
I appreciated that Jenny worked on this, and I know, I think we've all talked to a lot of residents, and we've gotten a lot of information and a lot of different viewpoints. But I think it was important to hear what people said first before trying to adopt an ordinance tonight. Your views are important, and I think we need to consider that. I think what Randy said, let's rescind it. Do we have to look at creating a new noise ordinance? I don't know. But you have been heard. And if the answer is no, then it is no. But I am not prepared to vote and approve a new ordinance that was already done and finished and ready before we heard any public comment. I don't think that's respectful to the public.
Thank you.
I want to add to that no disrespect to Kim, but we have heard from the audience. Many of you have emailed us. We've talked to several people on the phone. People have come in and we've explained these things and we have heard that. That's how we got to removing that portions of the firearms and the ORV on that ordinance. That's how we came about to do that when we discussed it together.
Okay, any other discussion from the board?
Paul Alfonsi mentioned earlier on, under public comment, that we've had the original ordinance in place since 2015.
Yes.
With no real problems, okay? As I look at it, this 500-foot thing should be probably stricken from that original noise control ordinance.
It's already gone.
5 feet or 500 feet, you're gonna hear it. So whether we talk putting a freeze on an ordinance, we had an ordinance in place that we didn't have any issues with for many, many years. So I'm a little skeptical about walking in here and not having any ordinance until we have one come up.
You got to count it.
Please, let's work through the
This
discussion.
is 63.
The decibels in it?
Correct.
Yeah, they had that in there, which we decided that was not enforceable.
Well,
It's hard
it's
to
difficult to
Yeah.
enforce, I agree.
Yeah.
A little common sense goes a long way with
Yeah.
noise, but.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that I'm not prepared tonight until we digest this. Obviously, we've got a problem,
okay, and we're not infallible and we're gonna fix it, but give us some time to fix it.
Fix it now.
So are you, then, you've got the motion and the support to
You got that motion written down again?
rescind 63.1 and 63.2 effective tonight. So basically, we'll have no noise ordinance until this board does something else that they choose to have a noise ordinance.
Thank you.
I guess my concern would be no noise ordinance. You have, I mean, lots of townships have a noise ordinance, so it's not like Almont's the only person that has a noise ordinance. But if you have none and say there's a big party and they're throwing out music,
State law.
County.
State and county. Invite all your neighbors.
Okay, we've got a motion and support. Please. We have a motion and support on the floor right now. Any other discussion? Now we're gonna do roll call.
Rollback.
I would like you to read that motion back so I can have some clarification on it.
Motion by Ashbrook to rescind 63.1 and 63.2, the noise control and public nuisance order, effective today.
Okay, yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Ashenberg,
Yes.
Carnegie, yes. Streeter. Yes. Hudson. Yes. Bowman.
Yes. Motion is carried.
Merry Christmas.
And when I- Tonight is, I would like to appoint a committee, an ad hoc committee to review, bring back for, some sort of noise ordinance at some point. You just voted it out. No. But I think that we need to have a noise ordinance, and I think we should, the committee should take a look at this and see what they can put together. If they can't reach us.
I think what I'd like to do is, I'd like to,
Listen up!
if we were even gonna consider anything, I think with the input that we had from the public tonight, maybe have our lawyer draft up something very simple and let us look at it then. That's, I mean, we're gonna end up sending it to them anyway to.
Yeah, they do it for review, they usually,
Right.
but it's our ordinance, so.
It is completely your ordinance. We can look at ordinances from across the state, but you don't take one and just drop it in Almont.
Okay.
It
Then-
needs
then-
to be what you guys want. So I would be happy to sit and work with you and to put into place what you guys want into place.
That's why I would like to have this committee come together. We can't have, unless we want to do it as a full board, because we can't, have any more than 3 sit together, so, Jenny, I'd like to ask you to sit on it, Rick and Kim, that's, and then.
I just voted to rescind it.
Yeah.
I don't want a new one.
There you go.
We just voted.
I made the motion.
Doesn't it?
I don't, yeah.
Save the money. Stop wasting time on me.
I'll sit on the committee if it's considered, sure. I'm just not sure where we're going.
Well, we'll see how the noise comes out. That's fine. So we've got that taken care of.
Can citizens sit on the committee?
Yeah.
No, this is the board committee. If you can put your, you have suggestions, send them on in, and then they can review them.
We are suggesting drop it off.
Okay, you wanna take a 5-minute break? We're gonna take a 5-minute break here, and I'll recess.